How are you all? Hope you all are fine at home. So, guys, after finishing this first lecture, with we will be starting with effects of British rule, that is of history. So, let me first share my slide and introduce myself. So, 1 minute, I will share my slide. Just give me a second. Mm, okay, just a minute. Okay, so let's see. So today I'm teaching effects of British rule, class 8, subject history. Myself, Shubhangi Sonavne from Shankarwadi MPS. So now let's see to the next screen. So the lesson units are establishment. We are going to learn about the establishment of East India Company and effect of British rule on India. So now, uh, before going to this chapter directly, I will like to ask you a few questions about the previous knowledge. So, what the few powers, which were the few powers that rule India are? So, the few powers were. I hope you know the answers. Then also I'll tell you the it is. So they were Britishers, they were Dutch, they were French, they were Portuguese, and then they came India for the main thing. It was to rule India, to capture the Indian territories. So after this, let's go for the uh, our slide. What purpose Britishers came in India? So with this, we will start our topic. So the first is establishment of East India Company. So due to the geographical discoveries, the European powers reached the Indian coast. So what was the main aim of this European powers? So there were many European powers. So including Europe, all the European powers, including Portuguese, Dutch, French, and British, entered the race for capturing the Indian market because they were knowing that India had much wealth. So they were in the intention to conquer the Indian territories. As we all know, there were many peoples who started their journey to reach India, but there was only one who reached. That was Vasco da Gama, who came to Goa. And after that, the Britishers came to India for trade purpose. So what was the main aim? To do the trade purpose in India. Now they establishes the domination over India. The British had to face opposition from French, Dutch, and local rulers. Now, why only three? Because before this, Portuguese, they were already in that Goa territory. So what Portuguese did, they came to know that Britishers came. So they opposed. They had a fight with Britishers. But after that fight, the Portuguese understood that it is not possible to defeat Britishers. So what they did, Portuguese had a friendly relation with the Britishers. So now what happened? Britishers became the friend with the Portuguese. So now because of that, you can see down, Britishers had to face the opposition only with French, Dutch, and the local rulers. So now they have to fight against these people. You can see the East India Company over here. So they established, who established East India Company? Britishers established the East India Company. Now we will see what was the reason between British and the Maratha war. Why was the war fought? Let's see it. So Mumbai was the main center of British in Western India. Why Mumbai was the main center? Because Mumbai had the coastal area. So it was the main center of Britishers in Western India. Now for this, to acquire the nearby territories, so they don't only want Mumbai, they wanted the nearby territories also. But the thing was, the Marathas had a strong hold over it. So what happened? As the Britishers came over here, they saw that Marathas are very powerful. It's not possible to defeat. So they had a new idea. They were trying to get in the Maratha kingdom. So how did they got there? They got a good opportunity. So what was that opportunity? Let's see. Now here, after the death of Peshwa Madhavrao, so this was a Peshwa. He was Peshwa Madhavrao. After his death, his uncle Raghunath Rao approached him to for help from the British due to his greed for Peshwaship. Means Raghunath Rao wanted to be the Peshwa of that particular kingdom. So for this, what he did, he took the help of the Britishers. So, because of that, what happened? Britishers got the opportunity to get into the Maratha war, Maratha kingdom. Now, during 1774 to 1818, three wars were fought between the Marathas and the British. During the first war, the Marathas unitedly faced the British and hence proved superior. Now, we can see here, during 1774 to 1818, there were three wars fought between Marathas and the British. But during this period, Marathas proved to be superior. So, Marathas defeated Britishers. So, it was not possible for Britishers to win the fight. So, here Marathas were superior. But in 1782, there was a treaty signed. After this, there was a treaty signed, and the treaty was Salbai. The first Anglo-Maratha War came to an end. So here, Anglo-Maratha War. Here, Anglo means Britishers. So in 1782, after signing this treaty, the war, Anglo-Maratha War, came to an end. You can see here the picture. Okay, now so let's go to the next slide. Here you can see there are pictures of Britishers and Marathas fighting against each other. But here we can see that Marathas proved to be superior, and the Anglo-Maratha War, it came to an end after signing the Treaty of Salbai. Now let's go to the next slide. Anglo-Maratha War. So again that same, it came to an end. So here down in 1782, the British and Maratha, the Treaty of Salbai, the first Anglo-Maratha War, came to an end. Now, for like to establish their rule, to rule Indian territory, British had played many. They had established many policies. Now let's go through which are policies he started and what all things he did to uh, make his power more stronger day by day. So the first was subsidiary alliance. Now let us see what is subsidiary alliance. In 1798, Lord Wellesley arrived in India and Governor General. His objective was to establish the British dominion all over India. So what was his objective? To conquer more and more territories in India, to rule India. And what was his name? Lord Wellesley. And he was the Governor General. He signed the subsidiary alliance with many Indian rulers. According to the alliance, the Indian rulers were assured of British military help. So what was the main thing in this alliance? All the British, all the Indian rulers will be given military help. The term laid on them. The Indian rulers have to maintain British army in their court and have to pay cash or part in their territory of the company. Now what happened? After signing this treaty, after signing this, what subsidiary alliance, what help he gave? He will be giving the British military help to the Indian rulers. But for that, they need to pay in cash or a part of the territory to the company for its maintenance. And also the Indian rulers have to maintain British army in their court. So this was the main intention, to maintain British army in the court, and even after that Indian rulers have to pay in cash or a part of the territory to the company for its maintenance. Now you can see here the picture, the photo of Lord Wellesley. Okay, so now let's see the next slide. Now, who all signed this subsidiary alliance? Let's see. In 1802, Bajirao II signed the subsidiary alliance treaty with the British. This alliance is well known as Treaty of Vasai. But many Marathas refused this treaty. This led to the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Now what happened over here? Bajirao II, he signed the treaty, but many Marathas, they were not ready for this treaty. But because of this, there was again one war, again Anglo-Maratha War, that is British and Maratha War. And after this war, after the victory of the Britishers in this war, who won the battle? It was the Britishers who won the battle in this war. So and after the battle, what they did is they started more interference into the Maratha state. See, there was increase in the there was increased Maratha interference of British into the Maratha state. So Britishers started more interfering in the Maratha state. So here we can see that Britishers started coming into the Marathas. So this became very intolerable, and Bajirao II backed a war against the British. Now Bajirao II was very much angry after this interference of the Britishers. So what he did, he he fight for a new war, and then, but what happened? He was defeated in the battle. He was defeated, and in 1818 he surrendered to the British, and after he came to know that it's not possible, and he surrendered himself to the Britishers. Now, by defeating the troop of of Shinde, General Lake captured the Mughal emperor and gained victory over Hindustan. Now, what happened? He was defeated in this battle in 1880. He surrendered to the British. So Bajirao II surrendered to the British. The capital of Mughals was under the control of Daulat Rao Shinde. So it was under the control of Daulat Rao Shinde. So by defeating the troops of Shinde, General Lake captured the Mughal emperor and gained victory over Hindustan. So here what we saw is we saw the Treaty of Alliance, which was signed by Bajirao II, and how the Britishers they started interference in the Maratha state. Okay, so now next slide we will go. So here we can see that Bajirao II is signing a treaty, and here you can see a photo of Bajirao II. Now after this we will see about Chhatrapati Pratap Singh. Now let's have some idea about who this Chhatrapati Pratap Singh was. Although the Peshwaship was to an end, now here the Peshwaship was almost to an end, but Chhatrapati Pratap Singh of Satara was still ruling. So Britishers signed a treaty with Chhatrapati Pratap Singh and appointed Grand Duff as an officer to assist him in the state affairs. Now, what happened? Uh, After this signing of treaty, Chhatrapati Pratap Singh and appointed Grand Duff as an officer to assist him. So what he did to assist means to help him in the state affairs. So he appointed Grand Duff to help him in the state affairs. Later, Chhatrapati Chhatrapati Shivaji. What happened? Chhatrapati Pratap Pratap Singh. What happened to him? Because what Grand Duff did, uh, he was dethroned and exiled to Kashi. So he was removed from his own territory, and he was sent to Kashi. So later, over there only, he died in 1847. So you can see his photo, Chhatrapati Pratap Singh. But he had one honest, loyal officer in his court. His name was Rangho Bapuji Gupte, a loyal officer of Chhatrapati, fought the legal battle and went up to England. But his efforts were unsuccessful. So what happens here? He goes for a legal battle to England to fight for his own king, but his efforts were very unsuccessful. So after this, what happened? Later, Lord Dalhousie rejected the adoption policy and in 1848 annexed the state of Satara. So here what happened? He later Dalhousie rejected the adoption policy was rejected, and 1848 annexed the state of Satara. Now let's go to the next slide. Now we will just go through with what works Chhatrapati Pratap Singh did. So let's see. Chhatrapati Pratap Singh made provision of water to the city by building water tank on the back side of Yavateshwar temple and Mahadara in Satara. Roads were also built in the city. Trees were planted on both the sides of the roads. Schools were built for boys and girls for teaching Sanskrit, Marathi, and English. Printing press was also set up and many useful books were published. So in 1827, Sabniti, a book of polity, was printed. He also built roads from Satara to Mahabaleshwar to Pratapgarh. So we can see what all work he did. So here also we can see the photos. So here we can see that water tank which he built near back of the Yavateshwar temple, and here we can see the bridge which he have. built roads in the city. Okay, so now after this, we will see what all policies British government has started in order to grow, to increase their powers in India. So we'll see first. First is dual government system. So now let's see what is this dual government system. The word dual itself means, I think you know what is dual. You are using the dual SIM, right? You have the mobile. You might be using the dual SIM. So what do you mean by dual? Dual means two SIMs. So same here. Dual government means two government. Okay. So what was that two government? Which were the two governments? Let's see. So first Robert Clive. So you can see the picture over here. Robert Clive. In 1765, he introduced a dual government system in Bengal. The company undertook the work of revenue collection, and the Nawab of Bengal had to maintain the law of order. Now see here, this is the main important thing. So what did the company undertook? So Eastern Company undertook the work of revenue collection, and the Nawab of Bengal had to maintain the law and order. So these were the two governments. Now here you can get the idea which were the two governments. So these were the two governments. This was known as dual government system, but it had an disadvantage. Now let's see what were the disadvantage. The ill effect of dual government system could be money in the form of taxes went to the pockets of the company officers. So you can get the idea what was the disadvantage. The whatever money they used to get, it went in the pockets of the company officers. That is corruption started over here. Okay. So because of this dual government policy, the monopoly of trade in the India was given to the East India Company and hence many trading companies in England. So whatever the money they used to get, it was given to the East India Company and hence many trading companies in the England. The working system of the company in India received criticism in England, and British Parliament introduced some important laws to keep control over the system, over the company. So now here, what happened when England people came to know about this, about the corruption? What happened? They started criticism. Criticism and to criticize means not showing disapproval. So they are not giving approving the thing. So they are showing this criticism. They are criticizing the dual system. So because of these, they started they put some more important laws so as to gain the control over the system. So let's see the which were the another laws. Now the second was parliamentary law. According to Regulating Act of 1773, the Bengal governor came to be known as the Governor General. So now after this parliamentary law, so after this Act, the Bengal governor came to be known as Governor General. So now who was that Governor General? I think you can see the photo over here and you can also read it. So Lord Warren Hastings became the Governor General of India. He got the right to control the policies of Mumbai and Madras provinces. So this was the more important thing. He got more powers. So which were the powers? He got more powers to control the policies of Mumbai and Madras province. So whatever things in that Madras and Mumbai, he can put a control over it. So in 1784, Pitt's India Act was passed. Now this is one more thing. What was this act? The act provided about appointment of permanent board of control for better regulation and management of affairs of the East India Company in India. Now what was this act? The main aim of this act was to appointment a permanent board of control, to appoint some people so as it will be more good to regulate, it will be more easier to for the regulation and management of affairs of the East India Company. Okay, so in 1813, 1833 and 1853, new laws were passed by the parliament to make certain changes in the working of the company. Now if they find there are something wrong going on, so they started putting more new law. So like this in 1813, 1833 and 1853, some more new laws were passed by the parliament to make certain changes for the smooth functioning of the company. The British government evolved an indirect control on the administration of the East India Company. So now, what they did is they had an indirect control on the East India Company. Who had indirect control? British government. Okay. Now, for this, uh, with the emergence of British rule, a new system, administrative system, got developed in India. Which were the administrative system? They had four main pillars. So you can see here: civil service, civil services, military, police force, and judicial system became the main pillars of British administration in India. Remember this: there were four main pillars, and they were civil system, civil services, military, police force, and judicial system. Okay, now let's see what 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 this services does. What was their main aim? What was their main use of the main pillars? Okay, so Indian civil services. Lord Cornwallis introduced bureaucracy. It became an important part of British government. So you can see his photo over here, Lord Cornwallis. So for the convenience of administration, he divided. So this is the important thing what he did. So what he did, he divided the British occupied territories into districts. So what he did, he divided the big territories into small districts. Why he divided it into small districts? So as he can gain the control over it, and everything will be in a right manner to the company. So after after dividing into districts, he also appointed the district collector. The district collector was a chief of the district administration. And what was his duty? District collector's duty? He was the chief of the district administration, and he was responsible for collection of revenue, giving justice, maintaining law and order. So this what Lord Cornwallis did: he first divided the large territories into small districts, appointed a district collector, and the district collector's role was to for collection of revenue and giving justice, maintaining law and order. The officers were appointed through competitive examinations known as Indian Civil Services. Now, what happened? How were the officers appointed? They were appointed by the competitive examinations, and it was known as Indian Civil Services. So ICS. Okay. So you can see here, see the picture. Okay. Now let's see the next one. So military and police force. Now here there are two things: military also and police force also. Now what was the duty of military and what was the duty of the police force? Let's see. The duty of military was to safeguard the British occupied regions in India. Safeguard means to provide security. So what was the main aim of the military? It was to provide security to the British occupied regions. So whichever regions British occupied, no one else should come and conquer it. So for that, they used to provide the security. Also to acquire new territories and break down any revolt against the British in India. And one more thing was, if anyone protests British, so what military will do? They will stop it over there. They will not encourage. They will not uh, allow them to go for the to stand for the protest. They will stop them over there only. Okay, so this was for military people. Now let's see for the police force. To maintain law and order in the country was the duty of the police force. So police force main duty was to maintain the law and order. Okay, so the next one, judicial system. The British established a new judicial system in India on the basis of judicial system in England. So what they did is, whatever judicial system England used to follow, same judicial system they started in India. Okay. So every district had a civil and criminal court to solve the local cases. Now what happened? Every district. So every district. Now I told you earlier, territory was divided into small districts. Now what happened? Every district had the civil and criminal court. Now civil court used to deal with the property problems or some household problems, and criminal court used to deal with the death or somebody killed anyone. That cases. Now to solve the local cases, for consideration of their judgment, a high court was established. Now, there were some people who were not satisfied with this criminal court and civil court. So, what they can do is they can go for the high court and put their problems in front of the high court, so that high court can solve the problem. Okay, so this was what we saw is the judicial system. Now we will go to the next one, that is equality before the law. Now there was some problem in this. The law, what was the problem? Let's see. In British law, in British period, law in India differed from place to place. Now what happened? The main thing was it differed from district to district, from place to place. So this was the biggest problem. So there was a different judgment on the basis of the casteism. Now under under the leadership, so what happened here? So there was a different judgment. It was, so they used to see which caste these people used to the person is, so that they can give them some another judgment. So this was not right. So what happened? So under the leadership of Lord Macaulay, so what he did, so Lord Macaulay, what he did, a committee was set up to create the code of law. So what he did is a new committee was set up. Why did he set up? So that the law should be equal for everyone and in every place. So in case of religion, caste, anything, the law will be same for everyone. So that was his main intention. The Indian Penal Code was enforced all over British India with British principles of equality before law. So what happened? The Indian Penal Code was enforced. That is, it was been started all over India to follow the British principles. That was equality before law. But there were some defects in it. There were separate codes and different laws for the Europeans. But what they did is the Indians and Europeans had the different laws and there were separate codes. New laws were difficult to be understood by common people. Legal cases became an expensive affair for the community and the cases remained pending for years together. Now what happened? This new law was very difficult for the common people to understand, and also it became very expensive. So the cases used to be remain pending for years and years and years. So this was the main thing. Uh, so for this, the people used to be a little bit upset because of this new law. So now here what we saw, I will just go through this. We saw that there was equality of law, so as to the law should be equal for everyone. For play from, it should not differ from place to place, from people to people, from caste to caste. So he established a new committee and created a code of law. But there was separate codes for Europeans and Indians. This was the main defect. Okay. So now let's go to the next one. Just a minute. Okay. Before this, I will just I'll just go through the last what we have learned. So we saw establishment of East India Company. We saw how Britishers entered the Maratha kingdom and what are policies they made so as to conquer the Indian territories and uh, uh, get over the trade uh, in India. Okay, so with this, I will just ask you some questions. So, for what purpose the British came to India? I just told you. For what purpose did they came? They came to uh, rule India. Okay. So, according to Regulating Act of 1773, the Bengal Governor was known as Governor General. Okay. And one more question: who introduced the dual government system in Bengal? So it was introduced by Robert Clive. And the last question: who signed the subsidiary alliance treaty with the British? So the Indian kings and Bajirao II signed the subsidiary alliance, the treaty with the Britishers. Okay. So now let's go to summary again. All the Europeans, including Portuguese, Dutch, French, and British, entered the race for capturing the Indian market for trade purpose. Mumbai was the main center of British in Western India. Lord Wellesley arrived in India as Governor General. Now, according to Regulating Act of 1773, the Bengal governor came to be known as Governor General. Civil services, military, police force, and judicial system became the main pillars of British administration in India. So this is a small assignment. After this, I hope you know this answers. Portuguese, Dutch, French, British participated in the competition of capturing Indian market. So the answer will be yes, Dutch. Answer will be Dutch. In 1802, Peshwa Dash signed the subsidiary alliance with the British. Who signed? It was Bajirao II who signed the subsidiary alliance with the Britishers. Dash introduces bureaucracy. Who was that person who introduced bureaucracy? So it was Lord Cornwallis. Lord Cornwallis introduced bureaucracy. Now these are the some terms. Hope you will write this. Okay, so I'll see this in the next video, next Zoom meeting. So there is some activity which I'm sharing with you. So what activity? It will be collect some information about East India Company. You can search it, you can Google it and collect the pictures and make the chart of Indian socialists in freedom fighters. Okay, so the learning outcome was explain how the East India Company became the more dominant power and explains how the main pillars of British administration of India. Okay, so thank you, take care, stay safe, enjoy your day. Bye bye.